Quiet before the storm. The Zarkax Empire had ruled the Orion Arm for 10,000 years, their crystalline ships gliding through the darkness between stars like ancient leviathans. They had seen countless species rise and fall, their civilizations nothing more than footnotes in the Empire's vast archives. Humanity, they assumed, would be no different. Admiral Vector stood at the observation deck of the Imperial flagship Dawn's Crystal, his iridescent scales reflecting the light of distant stars. Below him, Earth hung like a blue jewel in the void, seemingly insignificant against the backdrop of space. The humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel a mere century ago, barely a blink in galactic terms. Another request for expanded mining rights in the Proxima system. Admiral, his aide reported, mandibles clicking in barely concealed amusement. The humans seemed persistent. Deny it, Vector said dismissively. They haven't earned the right to expand beyond their current holdings. Let them prove themselves worthy first. The humans had been denied similar requests 17 times in the past solar cycle. The Zarkax protocol was clear. Emerging species needed to demonstrate both technological prowess and cultural stability before being granted additional resource rights. Humanity, with their fractious politics and relatively primitive technology, had failed to meet either criterion. What Vector and the Empire failed to notice, however, was that humanity had stopped protesting these denials 6 months ago. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display showing the results of Project Prometheus. The quantum fold drive she and her team had developed wasn't just an improvement on existing FTL technology. It represented a fundamental breakthrough in understanding the nature of spacetime itself. Final simulation complete, her AI assistant reported. Success probability, 99.97%. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Empire believed humanity was still struggling with basic antimatter containment, relying on borrowed Zarkax technology for their modest fleet of interstellar ships. They had no idea that humans had not only mastered antimatter production, but had moved far beyond it. Begin production sequence, she ordered, and inform the Defense Council that we're ready for Phase 2. Across the solar system, hidden shipyards sprung to life. Humanity had learned long ago that appearing weak while preparing for strength was an advantage. They had absorbed every slight, every dismissal, every patronizing denial from the Empire, and used it as fuel for their determination. In high orbit around Jupiter, General Michael Okonjo reviewed the latest fleet readiness reports. The new Thanatos-class battleships were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Their quantum fold drives allowed them to slip through space like ghosts. Their advanced AI cores could process combat situations faster than organic minds could comprehend, and their weaponry. Well, the Empire would learn about that soon enough. Sir, his communications officer interrupted, we're detecting increased Zarkax patrol activity near the Kuiper Belt. Michael nodded. Let them look. They'll see exactly what we want them to see. The Empire's arrogance had always been its greatest weakness. They saw humanity as primitive because humans allowed them to see only what supported that belief. Every failed experiment, every crude attempt at advancing technology had been carefully choreographed to maintain this illusion. But the facade was about to crack. In the diplomatic quarter of New Geneva, Ambassador Elena Rodriguez prepared for another meeting with the Zarkax representatives. She would once again play her part, the eager but unsophisticated human diplomat, grateful for any crumb of attention from the mighty Empire. The Council's final authorization came through this morning, her aide whispered as they walked to the meeting chamber. We're to proceed with the Revelation Protocol. Elena's expression didn't change, but her heart rate quickened. After decades of preparation, humanity was finally ready to show its true face to the galaxy. The Empire had dismissed them as children playing with technologies they barely understood. They were about to learn that humanity had not been playing. They had been practicing. In the depths of space, beyond the Empire's sensor networks, The first Thanatos-class ships moved into position. Their quantum signatures were masked, their presence hidden from the universe itself. Humanity had learned patience from their oppressors, had turned their own dismissal into an advantage. The Empire believed they had 10,000 years of technological advancement over humanity. They were about to discover that innovation driven by necessity could overcome centuries of complacent superiority. The storm that would reshape the galaxy was gathering, and the Zarkax Empire didn't even know to look for clouds. Admiral Vector continued his observation of Earth, completely unaware that he was watching the sunset of his empire's dominance. In less than 24 hours, humanity would reveal the truth they had hidden for so long, and the galaxy would never be the same. The quiet before the storm was about to end. The breaking point. The breaking point came not with a declaration of war, but with a simple transmission failure. On what seemed like an ordinary day, the Zarkax mining fleet in the Proxima system lost contact with their forward sensors. At first, it appeared to be a routine malfunction, the kind of technical glitch that even advanced civilizations occasionally faced. Commander Ixel of the mining fleet dispatched repair drones, following standard Imperial protocol. The drones never reached their destination. They simply vanished, as if swallowed by the void itself. Ixel's crystalline features shifted in confusion as his subordinates reported the loss. "Launch a full sensor sweep," he ordered, his tone betraying the first hints of concern. The Zarkax prided themselves on their technological superiority. Equipment failures of this magnitude simply didn't happen. The sweep revealed nothing. Not just an absence of the drones, but an absolute void where their sensors should have detected at least background radiation. It was as if a piece of space itself had been removed from reality. Then they saw it. A human ship materialized less than 1,000 kilometers from the mining fleet's command vessel. But it wasn't like any human vessel they had encountered before, where human ships were typically bulky and inelegant by Imperial standards. This one was sleek, almost predatory in its design. It bore no visible weapons, no obvious propulsion systems, and most disturbingly, no energy signature that their sensors could detect. "Impossible," Ixel whispered. "The ship shouldn't have been able to approach undetected, let alone appear as if from nowhere." The Empire's sensor technology was unmatched in the galaxy, or so they had believed. The human vessel's communication array activated, and a holographic figure appeared on Ixel's bridge. It was Dr. Sarah Chen, though the Zarkax commander had no way of knowing her significance. "This is your only warning," she stated, her voice calm but carrying an edge of steel. "The Proxima system now falls under human protection. You have 1 hour to withdraw your forces." Ixel's scales flickered with indignation. "You dare threaten an Imperial fleet? Your species barely understands the principles of interstellar travel. We could destroy your vessel with a single volley." Sarah's expression didn't change. "Your hour starts now." The transmission cut off, leaving Ixel in a state of confused anger. He immediately dispatched a priority message to the Imperial command, but received no response. All communications beyond the immediate vicinity of his fleet appeared to be blocked. "Launch fighters," he commanded. "Show these primitives the consequence of challenging the Empire." The Zarkax fighter squadrons deployed with practiced precision, their crystalline forms catching the light of Proxima Centauri as they moved to surround the lone human vessel. They were the pride of the Imperial fleet, each one capable of reducing a small moon to rubble. They never got the chance to fire. The human ship pulsed once, a barely visible ripple in the fabric of space-time. In that instant, every Zarkax fighter simply ceased to exist. There was no explosion, no debris. They simply vanished, along with their pilots. On the bridge of his command ship, Ixel watched in horror as his display showed the impossible. The fighters hadn't been destroyed. They had been removed from this plane of reality entirely, shifted into some other dimension by technology that shouldn't exist. "Target their vessel," he screamed, his composure shattered. "All weapons, fire." The mining fleet's capital ships opened fire simultaneously, their energy weapons capable of cutting through planetary crusts. The beams struck an invisible barrier around the human ship and simply stopped. Not deflected, not absorbed, but stopped, as if they had hit a wall in space itself. Sarah's hologram reappeared. 50 minutes remaining, she said simply. Across the galaxy, in the Imperial Palace on Zarkax Prime, Emperor Vexthor received the first fragmentary reports of the encounter. His advisors assured him it had to be some sort of mistake. Humans didn't have this kind of technology. They couldn't have developed it without the Empire knowing. But more reports were coming in. The quantum communication network that linked the Empire's worlds was being systematically shut down. Not damaged or destroyed, but closed off with a precision that spoke of intimate knowledge of its workings. Humanity hadn't just caught up with Imperial technology. They had surpassed it. In orbit around Mars, General Okanjo watched the real-time feeds from the Proxima system. "Begin Phase 3, he ordered. Across the solar system, the hidden fleets of humanity began to move. Ships that had been concealed in gas-giant atmospheres, inside asteroids, and within the coronas of stars emerged from their hiding places. The Zarkax mining fleet commander watched in growing terror as hundreds of human vessels appeared around his position, each one identical to the first. His sensors couldn't detect them until they chose to be seen, couldn't target them even when they were visible, and couldn't comprehend the principles behind their operation. With 10 minutes remaining in their deadline, the humans demonstrated one more capability. A small probe launched from the lead ship, heading toward a nearby asteroid. As it approached, the asteroid began to change. Its surface rippled like water, and then it simply collapsed in on itself, compressed by forces that defied known physics into a sphere no larger than a marble. That, Sarah's hologram explained, was a demonstration of our gravitational manipulation technology. Your ships have 53 seconds to begin withdrawal procedures. After that, we will consider your presence an act of aggression. The Zarkax fleet didn't wait for the countdown to finish. For the first time in 10,000 years, an Imperial force retreated in the face of what they had considered an inferior species. As they fled at maximum speed, their sensors recorded one final chilling detail. The human ships weren't pursuing. They didn't need to. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Vexthor gathered his war council. The reports were clear now. Humanity had not just developed new technology. They had revolutionized their understanding of the universe itself. And they had done it all while maintaining a facade of technological inferiority. The storm had broken, and the galaxy would never be the same. Waves of change. The great halls of the Galactic Conclave hadn't seen such chaos in millennia. Representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in emergency session, their voices rising in a cacophony of different languages as they tried to comprehend the footage from Proxima Centauri. The Zarkax Empire, which had dominated galactic politics for 10,000 years, had been humiliated by a species that most had dismissed as barely worth noting. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez sat quietly in humanity's modest section of the chamber, watching the panic spread. The humans had deliberately chosen seats in the far corner, away from the ornate thrones of the major powers. It was their final act of apparent submission before everything changed. "This is obviously some form of deception," High Chancellor Vexthor declared, his crystalline form pulsing with barely contained rage. "The humans have somehow falsified this footage." "The footage is genuine," Elena interrupted, her voice carrying clearly across the chamber despite its soft tone. "As your own sensor logs confirm." The chamber fell silent. It was unprecedented for a minor species to interrupt the High Chancellor. But then, everything about this day was unprecedented. "Would you care to explain," Vexthor said, each word dripping with venom, "how your species managed to develop such technology without detection?" Elena stood, smoothing her simple diplomatic uniform. "The same way we developed everything else, through human ingenuity and determination. The only difference is that this time, we chose not to share our progress." In the upper tiers of the chamber, the axolotl delegation stirred uneasily. The semi-aquatic species had long served as information brokers to the Empire, priding themselves on knowing every secret worth knowing. That humans had hidden such massive technological advancement from them was disturbing. "You deliberately deceived the Empire," Vex Thor accused. "You presented yourselves as primitive, as struggling." "We presented ourselves exactly as you wanted to see us," Alina corrected. "Your Empire's greatest weakness has always been its arrogance. You see what you expect to see, and you expected to see primitives." On screens throughout the chamber, new footage began to play. It showed massive shipyards emerging from within Mercury's corona, advanced research facilities rising from beneath the ice of Europa, and vast fleets of warships appearing from hiding places throughout the solar system. "While you dismissed our attempts at advancement as crude," Alina continued, "we were reverse engineering and improving upon every piece of technology we could access. While you laughed at our diplomatic requests, we were building something new." The representatives of the Mercian Confederation, feline-like beings known for their tactical acumen, leaned forward with interest. They, perhaps more than most, appreciated the strategy. "You used your perceived weakness as a shield," their speaker noted with something like admiration. "We did," Elena acknowledged. "But more importantly, we learned from watching you. All of you. We saw how the Empire treated lesser species. We saw how the Conclave's grand principles of equality meant nothing when power was at stake, and we decided to change the rules of the game." As if on cue, quantum communication channels across the galaxy flickered. The Empire's supposedly unbreakable encryption was systematically dismantled, replaced by new protocols that none of their systems could decode. Their mighty fleets found their navigation systems locked out, their weapons reduced to dormancy. "This is an act of war," Vex Thor declared, but there was a tremor in his voice now. "No," Alina said firmly. "This is an act of revolution. Humanity is not declaring war. We are declaring independence, not just for ourselves, but for every species that has suffered under imperial domination." The chamber erupted again, but this time the voices were different. The representatives of dozens of subjugated species began to stand, moving to join the human delegation. They had all received messages in the preceding hours, offers of protection, of technology sharing, of true partnership rather than submission. Dr. Sarah Chen's hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, her presence a reminder of humanity's new capabilities. "The age of empire is over," she stated simply. "We are establishing a new coalition, based on mutual respect and genuine cooperation. Any world that wishes to join us will be welcomed as equals." The Zarkax delegation watched in growing horror as nearly a third of their subject worlds declared their immediate intention to join this new coalition. Centuries of carefully maintained control were unraveling in minutes. "You cannot possibly protect them all," Vex Thor warned, but his threat sounded hollow even to his own ears. General Okonjo's hologram joined Sarah's. "We already can," he said quietly. "Our fleets are in position throughout the galaxy, not to conquer, not to dominate, but to defend. The choice now lies with you. Adapt to a new reality, or cling to an empire that no longer exists." In the ensuing silence, Alina stood once more. "We have prepared detailed proposals for transition of power, economic restructuring, and technological sharing agreements. The Empire can choose to participate in building this new future, or it can choose to oppose it. But know this, humanity will never again kneel to those who mistake age for wisdom, or tradition for right." The waves of change swept through the galaxy in the hours that followed. The Mercian Confederation was the first major power to formally recognize the new coalition. Others followed, seeing the wisdom in aligning with this suddenly revealed force. The Empire's grip on power, maintained for 10,000 years through technological supremacy and political maneuvering, had been broken not by force of arms, but by humanity's patient cultivation of their own underestimation. They had turned the Empire's greatest weapon, its arrogance, against itself, and as the old order crumbled, a new dawn began to rise over the galaxy. The storm humanity had unleashed would reshape everything. But from its winds, something better would emerge. The age of empire was over. The age of humanity had begun. Empire's response. Emperor Vexthor stood in his private sanctuary deep within the imperial palace, watching as his empire crumbled. The crystalline displays surrounding him showed the same story on every channel. System after system declaring independence, protected by humanity's mysterious fleet. But the emperor had not maintained power for 3 centuries by accepting defeat easily. "Deploy the eternal fleet," he commanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. His advisors shifted uncomfortably. "My emperor," First Advisor Kickstall ventured, "the eternal fleet hasn't been mobilized in 2,000 years. Many of the ships may not." "Deploy them all," Vexthor interrupted. "Every ship, every weapon, every resource we have hidden away. If humanity wants to play at revolution, let them face the full might of 10,000 years of imperial power." Deep within the heart of a dead star, mechanical signals awakened ancient warships. The Eternal Fleet had been the Empire's ultimate contingency, thousands of vessels built with technology so advanced it had been deemed too dangerous to use. Now, as they emerged from their long slumber, their golden hulls absorbed light like hungry ghosts. On Earth, in the newly constructed Terran Defense Command, General Okonjo received the first warnings. Multiple quantum signatures detected, his AI reported. Configuration unknown, but energy output exceeds anything in our database. Sarah Chen's hologram appeared beside him, her expression concerned. "The Empire's hidden fleet," she said. "We knew they had to have one, but these energy readings, they're using technology they banned millennia ago." "How many ships?" Okonjo asked. 3,000 and counting, the AI responded. "They're emerging throughout the galaxy, targeting our protected worlds first." In the Sirius system, one of the first to declare for the human coalition, the Eternal Fleet made its first strike. A single golden vessel appeared above the capital world, its hull writhing with patterns that hurt the mind to look at. Before the human defense fleet could react, it fired a single shot. Reality itself seemed to tear. A hole opened in space, not just a rupture, but a wound in the fabric of the universe. The human ships closest to it simply ceased to exist, their quantum signatures snuffed out like candles in a storm. Multiple similar attacks reported across 17 systems. The AI updated. "The Empire is targeting our allies first, attempting to show the cost of defying them." Okonjo's face hardened. "Deploy the Prometheus protocol." Sarah's hologram turned to him sharply. "That's still experimental. We don't know if." "We don't have a choice," he cut in. "The Empire is willing to tear reality apart rather than accept change. We have to show them why that's a mistake." Across human space, hidden quantum transmitters activated. They had been placed years ago, scattered throughout the galaxy by automated probes that appeared to be nothing more than space debris. Now they formed a network, linking every human ship and installation in a web of instantaneous communication. "All ships, execute Pattern Omega," Okonjo commanded. "Show them what humanity can really do." The battle that followed would be spoken of for generations. The Empire's Eternal Fleet, armed with weapons that could unmake reality, clashed with human ships that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. Where Imperial weapons tore holes in space, human vessels simply slipped between the tiers, emerging unscathed. Where the golden ships tried to bring their overwhelming firepower to bear, they found their targets simply weren't where they appeared to be. In the Arcturus system, an Imperial dreadnought found itself facing what appeared to be a single human corvette. The dreadnought fired its main weapon, a beam of pure entropy that should have reduced the smaller ship to its constituent atoms. Instead, the corvette split into 100 identical copies, each one perfectly real and yet impossible. "How?" the Imperial commander demanded as his sensors showed all 100 ships were simultaneously real and not real, present and absent. "How are they doing this?" The answer came in the form of total defeat. The human ships, whatever they truly were, simply bypassed the dreadnought's defenses as if they didn't exist. Not with weapons or force, but by operating on a level of reality the Empire's technology couldn't comprehend. In the Imperial Palace, Vex Thor watched in mounting horror as the Eternal Fleet, his last, greatest weapon, proved ineffective. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were systematically demonstrating the futility of resistance. Each engagement showed a new capability, a new way in which humanity had surpassed their former masters. "My Emperor," Kixtull reported, his voice shaking, "we're detecting quantum fluctuations throughout Imperial space. The humans aren't just defeating our ships, they're rewriting the underlying structure of our empire." It was true. The human coalition wasn't fighting a conventional war. They were using their advanced understanding of reality itself to simply edit the empire out of power. Communication systems, weapon platforms, even the quantum encryption that had maintained imperial control for millennia. All of it was being systematically transformed. "Impossible," Vex Thor whispered, watching his 10,000-year empire dissolve not through violence, but through human ingenuity. "What are they?" The answer came from Elena Rodriguez, speaking to the Galactic Conclave as the last of the Eternal Fleet fell silent. "We are what you made us," she said simply. "Every dismissal, every mockery, every denial of our potential. It taught us to be better, to be smarter, to see beyond the limitations you try to impose." The Empire's response had been its last gasp, a desperate attempt to maintain control through overwhelming force. But humanity had long since moved beyond the point where force alone could decide victory. They had transformed the very nature of power in the galaxy, and there was no going back. New Dawn. 5 years after humanity revealed its true power to the galaxy, the crystalline spires of New Geneva stretched toward the stars. Once a humble Earth city, it now served as the capital of the Galactic Coalition, its architecture a blend of a dozen species styles. At its heart stood the Convergence Tower, where representatives from across the galaxy gathered not as masters and servants, but as equals. Sarah Chen stood at the tower's apex, watching ships of various designs moving through the evening sky. Some bore the sleek lines of human engineering, others the organic curves of the Mercian, and still others the crystalline geometry of the reformed Zarkax worlds. But they all moved with purpose, powered by technology freely shared among coalition members. "Thinking deep thoughts?" Elena Rodriguez asked, joining her at the window. The former ambassador, now coalition president, had aged gracefully over the past 5 years, the silver in her hair matching the gleam of the city below. "Remembering, we did more than defeat an empire," Sarah realized, watching the new star's light play across the city. "We proved that advancement doesn't have to come at the cost of others. That true power lies not in domination, but in cooperation." A group of young Zarkax students passed below, their crystalline forms catching the light as they laughed with human and Mercian companions. They would grow up in a galaxy where species weren't ranked by age or power, but valued for their unique contributions to the whole. "The Empire ruled for 10,000 years," Okanjo mused, "maintaining power through force and fear. We've created something stronger in just 5, using understanding and cooperation." Elena smiled, touching the window's surface gently. "That's the real victory. Not that humanity proved its strength, but that we used that strength to lift others up, rather than hold them down." As night fell over New Geneva, the city's lights created patterns that could be seen from space, a beacon of hope visible to approaching ships. Humanity had indeed changed the galaxy, not by becoming the most powerful species, but by showing that power itself could be redefined. The age of empires was over. The age of collaboration had begun. And in the end, that would prove to be humanity's greatest achievement, not the technology they had developed in secret, but the future they had helped create in the open. In the depths of space, the lights of countless civilizations burned brighter than ever before, no longer separated by artificial barriers, but united in the greatest adventure of all: discovery. The galaxy had been transformed not by force of arms, but by force of will and the simple, powerful idea that every species deserved the chance to reach for the stars. It was a new dawn indeed, and its light would shine for millennia to come.